Let's move on to another topic, one that's in the news at the moment. WatchLOI. I think you might be along the same kind of thinking that I am at the moment. I'm very much in favour of the clubs doing it themselves. People will say I'm biased because I'm involved with Longford's one, but from my point of view, if Longford Town, for example, are playing Drogheda or Dundalk, I'd like to think you'd probably get 1,000 people watching that online. You charge them €5 each and you have direct income coming into the club, as opposed to this WatchLOI system where we're promised a cut of the subscriptions, but then we hear the subscription numbers are very, very low and no one ever actually hears. I'm sure you know, but you're not going to tell us what the clubs got back. There's the argument some clubs mightn't want the hassle of doing it or mightn't have the right people there. The likes of Longford are very, very lucky. They've got really techie people behind the scenes. You're probably similar in Drogheda, but there's some clubs that mightn't just have those volunteers to call on. So what's your views on WatchLOI?
Well, there was a meeting this afternoon, right, with the FAI. I couldn't make it. I had to send two of the lads from the
spill the beans. Spill the beans.
No, and honestly, no, I think it's probably going to come out in the next day or two, really. But I think it's a bit of a mixed model moment. If you ask me, from my basic thought was, I think Drogheda United fans want to buy a Drogheda United product.
I would agree.
Like that's my starting point on it. Now, WatchLOI, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the product. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think there could be some improvements to it, maybe on the commentary side of things. But I think the camera work and all the rest of it was pretty good. But I think we are. What's interesting for Longford and Drogheda, of course, we're coming into this new, whereas the other 8 Premier clubs were using WatchLOI last year. So they're all quite used to it and used to it running the way it was. Ultimately, right, if you ask me what's my preference, ultimately, I'd like clubs to own their own streaming aspects of it. Now, I want Drogheda United to be on national TV. Sure, when Drogheda played Dundalk, I want it to be on RTE. That's great. Ultimately, I like the idea of it replicating how it works for a normal match, which is when 1,000 away fans come to Drogheda, they pay money, I make the money out of it. In the same way, if there's a streaming match in Drogheda, I'd like away fans to be paying Drogheda too, as much as a Drogheda fan would pay if we're playing Longford, and you'll pay.
I don't think fans have an issue with that. I know it's great that you can pay. I know they're talking about now it's going to be slightly more expensive than it was last year, but let's even say it's €100 for WatchLOI this year. I've just picked that number out of the sky. It's great being able to pay that. You don't have to worry again for the rest of the year. You can watch games whenever you want. You can watch them back. But at the same time, I don't think people have an issue with supporting other League of Ireland clubs. I know certainly if I watched some of the first division streams last year and they had the donate option, I was more than happy to donate. So do you think maybe an opt-in option for the clubs is something that should be considered? Drogheda should be able to put their hand up and say, thanks for the offer, we don't want to be part of WatchLOI.
Well,
but the only issue you might have then, obviously, if fans are paying to watch Drogheda games and you're playing Shamrock Rovers who are part of WatchLOI, they're not getting that income. So it might be slightly unfair.
Do you know what's difficult is you have to have every club on the same page, is what I'm understanding, really. And whilst my personal view is I agree with you, because I like the idea. You see, I think we'll sell more streaming packages if we sell it branded by our clubs.
That's my main issue with WatchLOI. Obviously, there's only 3 weeks or so until the start of the season. There's very little time to market this. I thought the marketing behind the last launch of WatchLOI was absolutely abysmal, and for me, that's one of the main reasons it failed. So, if clubs had control, they'd be able to market it on their own social channels as much or as little as they want, and you'd be targeting the main people that you should be targeting.
Yeah, so I think to be honest, we're as I say, I have to see the detail because I wasn't on the call today, but I think we're probably going to be able to. It's up to the clubs to how we package whatever solution it is. Do you know what I mean? So if we're able to say, look, we can say if you buy this package, you get streamed matches, whether it's WatchLOI or something else. And, for example, there's a hat thrown in or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? So you're bundling a streaming or season ticket package. See, the problem with all this is we don't know when the fans are going to be back in the stadium or not. But you know what? I think you have to respect that there's a number of people who, even when fans are allowed back in stadium, won't want to go back in stadium because of fears over COVID. So I think we're probably, I think WatchLOI is going to be the solution, certainly in the shorter term. And then we might see something else for the rest of the season, possibly, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, there's talk about the fixed camera solution now. Again, I know there's very positive reports about it being used in Scotland, but I'm just not so sure.
I don't. You need to see it in practice. You hear the story about the bald linesman and all the rest of it and stuff. But no, look. I think, in fairness to the FAI on all this, there is no perfect solution here. No. And I think there's clubs like yourselves, Galway, ourselves, who've done brilliant streaming last year. From volunteers and again. In my head, but what they need in the Premier is a consistency of product. This is the point. And if you're going to do a WatchLOI, it has to be a WatchLOI for every club. In at least, you know what I mean. That's the point. Otherwise, we'd have sort of, you know what I mean. If a couple of clubs opt out of it, I think it won't really work. So I think we'll have to maybe bite the bullet on that for a while and see how we do on it. But
as we said at the start of the interview, you're back in the Premier Division, some big name signings. What's the hopes for this year?
That we're going to enjoy ourselves. That's the hope, right? And look, I'm very privileged, as are a number of my other people, that we actually will get to watch some live football this season. So I'm one of the lucky ones here. But I really hope that our fans enjoy watching us. Hopefully some of them in person when the season, when things get a bit better, certainly watching, streaming solutions, whatever they may be. But you know what, I want to see happy players on the pitch, and I want to see them happy off the pitch, and just to bring a bit of joy to the people, to be honest with you. That's what football is all about. So what's the fun? What's it all about if you can't enjoy you have to enjoy the highs and the lows. But what would, survival, of course, I want to remain in the Premier, like that's it. But I'm delighted to see that somebody's putting us at 150 to 1. I think somebody had it said 200 to 1.
Well, Longford are 250 to 1, so you're still fair, slightly better than us.
And I sort of laugh at that, and I go, who writes this stuff? Because 200 to 1 or two, really. But you know what? I'd like a good cup run, actually, Kieran. We haven't had one in a few years.
Has there been any talk about the cup structure? Because obviously the cups were put to one side last year because of COVID, but we haven't actually officially heard that the cups will be back. Even the likes of the Leinster Senior Cup is very important for players that are maybe on the fringes, for younger players on the fringes, and they were denied that opportunity last year, and we haven't actually heard anything official on that yet.
That's a good. Well, of course, we're not even sure where we are in 19s. Do you know, that's the problem? Because you're more likely to play your 19s in something like the Leinster Senior. I don't know where I expect the FAI Cup will go ahead. I fully anticipate that. We're obviously, but I don't know about the Leinster Senior Cup.
Even the League Cup though.
I don't think that will go ahead.
Okay, that's
I don't shame. because normally. Because we were talking about doing that as a pre-season, and I'm not sure about that actually. But no, look, just generally, I'm just hopeful that as I say, I want to see some good football, really. And you know what, with the squad we have, I'm so excited by some of the players in the squad. I really am. Some of the lads who have come through from last year, I want to see, players like Mark Doyle and Conor Kane, who've been super players in the first division, and Jimmy Brown. I can name loads, and Chris Lyons, Hughie Douglas, whatever. Jay Collin. I want these lads to blossom in the Premier. They've deserved their shot, right? They've worked, they've had heartbreak down in the first division for years. They've worked incredibly hard to get to the Premier, and I want them to show people that actually they're Premier quality players as well. So look, I'm very hopeful. We'll have a bit of fun, won't we? That's the thing.
One cup that will go ahead, of course, is the Jim Malone Cup. That's coming up very, very soon.
Oh yes.
You'll have to. I'm not sure. It's a long time since Drogheda won it. I don't have the exact year. But I'm sure you'd love to put down an early marker and get one over the local rivals.
Yeah, we'll be welcoming Filippo and Jim Magilton and all of them back down to Drogheda for that. Look, I think it'll be good. And we don't really. It's hard to know what sort of where Dundalk are really. You know what I mean? There's lots of new names coming in, some of whom we just don't know. You know what I mean? Some players from abroad and everything like that. I get on well with Bill there, and I hope he'll watch the stream if we put it up. And I think we'll give them a good go. I think we will. I don't think as long as it's not the way it was it was my first game in charge as chairman a couple of years ago when we were up in Dundalk, and I think we were 5-0 down at half time.
Yeah, I think I was at that one actually.
But then we drew the second half 1-1. So I felt like it wasn't too bad.
A mini victory.
Yeah, exactly.
Conor, it's been an absolute thrill speaking to you. I could pick your brains all day in truth, but I hope everyone watching has enjoyed your story, and I suppose best wishes to Drogheda for the year, but not
Well, I'll
not
say
so
best
much.
wishes to Longford. I'll get in first. Best wishes to Longford. I'm sure you'll do well. And again, there's a great bunch of people down in Longford as well. Look forward to getting down there this season and having a bit of banter with you and Jim down there. Yeah, great.
Brilliant stuff. Conor, thanks so much for speaking to us.
Brilliant. Thanks. Cheers, Kieran.